Nobody would transition because of something they've seen online. It's something I would have said 3 years ago when I started on the internet. Now I understand that the sad truth is that they might. Here are some other things I changed my mind about in the last 3 years. Transition. Between the ages of 4 and 8, all trans people knew that there was something up with their gender. That was certainly the case for me, but it doesn't have to be the case for everybody. I believe that trans people, driven by dysphoria, were compelled to change their bodies, to alter their bodies. Now I know that that's not true for all trans people. I believe that one of the hallmarks of being trans was not having an attachment to certain parts of your body. Going so far to say that parts of our body to us seemed like a deformity. I believed that sex and gender were exactly the same thing. Now I know that they're separate and distinct. I believe that no one chooses to be trans. Now I know that some people do. I used to believe that if a trans person didn't transition, they could never be happy. Now, I'm not so sure. I used to believe that people who weren't trans were able to understand trans people and could support us. Now I believe that only a trans person can really understand another trans person and the trans experience. I used to believe that inclusion was great and that it would have no impact on my experience, on my life as a trans person. Now I realize that inclusion in its own way has made it possible for people to invalidate my existence, my reality. I believe that detransitioners probably were never trans because being trans isn't something you put on and take off like a costume. I believe that there's too much emphasis put on clothing in the trans community. The shape in which fabric is sewed into has nothing to do with being trans. This one might be a little controversial. I believe that there should be a barrier to entry for people who want to transition, an obstacle, a challenge, something that gives you an opportunity to stop. Once that barrier is crossed, I think transition should be made very easy. When I say a barrier to entry, I mean, it could be something as simple as paperwork or having to spend time with adult trans people, people who have been in it for a little bit longer. Transitioning in the absence of other trans people seems very strange to me. I think my biggest takeaway over the last 3 years is that I used to believe that all trans people shared a very similar experience. There was one kind of trans person. Now I realize there's all kinds of trans people, and we're all very different. My experience of being trans is so different than the experience of somebody who feels like a woman but wants to keep a beard. Is there an island of bearded women somewhere? Yes, I know women are born with hair on their faces and all over their bodies, and I know that there are probably women who are born with full beards. If you want to be like them, great. I'm not here to stop you. I just want to make the point that it's not the same. I'm not the same kind of trans person as the person who takes estrogen and takes testosterone almost in equal parts so that they can stay somewhere in the middle. That's not me. There's room for all of us. The only issue I have is that when people outside of our community paint us all with the same brush, it's rarely my intention to offend, and I really hope I didn't.